coffee, then I'll go. Thought that
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Coffee Time Live with your host, Lauren Lau, live from Armenia, Colombia. And now, here's Lauren.
Good morning. Welcome back to the channel, Grand Colombia. And this is Coffee Time Live every Sunday at 11 a.m. And we got a beautiful overcast day in the low 70s. This past week, start off with the weather report. This past week, it rained pretty much every afternoon around 2, 3 o'clock on schedule. And we had about 2 days out of the week where it didn't rain. I was a little disappointed. So let me look. It says I'm live. If you're wondering why before I would put up a post and then you could see the chat 10-15 minutes beforehand, and you saw a notification in YouTube maybe even a day before, but certainly hours before, and now you're not finding it. That's a real good question in case you were wondering it, because I don't have a clue. I haven't been able to figure it out. It's not on my end because I do everything the same as I always do. But there's something going on with YouTube where it's blocking me. And I was noticing Marshall did a live stream a couple days ago, and he had it up and then deleted and up and deleted. He did it 4 or 5 times before he could connect. And that's exactly what I've been experiencing, is that if I go ahead and post it up like I always do, but then I begin my live stream, it doesn't connect to that. It creates a new one. And then it creates another new one, another new one. And a couple weeks ago, if you remember, we had a few minutes late start and it went to a different address. That's exactly what was happening. And whatever it is, it hasn't been cured, and YouTube's not real good with answers. So, Groomy, hey Lauren, hello, welcome. Chad, hello from Austin. Austin, home of the free. Okay, get this message off here. Get these pop-up messages. Made the mistake of buying a anti-spam, anti-virus thing. It was on a special for a year for $9. And it works good. So I said, okay. Well, I didn't read the fine print that if you get the $9 one, you get these little pop-up ads. And I can stop it. I know how to do it. I keep forgetting. And then I do the live and they pop up over top of my chat. YouTube is also deleting comments on your site they don't like. They've always done that. I have no control over it. Now, if it's something that they give a pass to, it'll kick it into a category where I can review it and say yes or no. I check that pretty much every day, and I haven't had any there in probably 6 months. And I used to get them like every couple weeks. And they were almost always no reason to be there. It was like, well, why would this chat get kicked over here? It doesn't make sense. There's nothing wrong with it, and I had to prove it. Occasionally, it would be some spam thing where they're giving you a web address so you can get free loans for $10 million or something. And, okay, so that was spam. But I haven't seen any in quite a while. Hello from Cuenca. Hello, Dale. You were on last night, I think. And B-Nick. Buen dia. How's life treating you? When are you going to get back here? Found you. See? That's why that reason that I just described is exactly why the last 2 weeks I've been directing people to my website. I probably should do that anyway. But grandcolumbia.live, because when you go to videos, until I go live, it doesn't show, but it will be in that spot. And if you go to YouTube, the spot hasn't been created, so you don't know where it's going to show up. And you actually have to hunt through the playlist to locate it. And a lot of people don't know to do that, or you shouldn't have to do that. You know, it should just come up. If you're subscribed, you'll get notice when it kicks on. But what is it? 2/3 of the viewers, yeah, somewhere around there, don't subscribe. And I don't blame you. You know, you don't want to load up with a whole bunch of subscriptions. I mean, I've got too many. You have to go through and weed them out. And you get notices from things that you don't want to. And, you know, so I understand that. But if you are subscribed and you also click the notification, you can't just subscribe, you have to go and click the thing that you want notifications. Then whenever I go live, it will zip it off to you, and you'll know, you can get to it in the first minute. Oh, by the way, did I tell you I sell merch? Love my cup. I did that on the what I called the complicated site, which isn't complicated, but I actually put 2 logos on there. So, okay. So last night we had a special edition live, Saturday Night Live, and it was interesting. It went way longer. I just decided that I was going to go on as a kind of the apology tour of having so many glitches, the last few weeks, and having a coffee time cut short. Hey, my book. Oh, awesome. So I decided that I would do that last night. Also, there's some people who say, well, I can't catch it in the morning, or I don't want to get up at 11 a.m. Or what is it on the West Coast? It's probably 9, maybe. I don't know. But so anyway, I decided to do it, and it was pretty interesting. As usual, I just ramble off. People ask me a question, and I end up in a story about 50 years ago. You used to send an email notification, but rather than allowing subscribers to decide which to receive, they just stopped sending all emails several months ago. Yeah, there's 9 a.m. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I can't figure out what it is, and I thought sure that it's happened to me for the last few weeks, and then I saw a day or two ago that it happened to Marshall. I didn't even talk to him about it, but I saw it happening. So I figured, it's happening across the board, but I go and look on forums. You would think people would be complaining about it, but I can't find anybody talking about it. Mountain Standard Time, 10. Yep. It's 9 here because we don't do the daylight savings time. We're the same time all year long. So half of the year we're East Coast time, half of the year we're Central time. Good morning, Taco. Good morning, Rob. So I don't know if we burned up all the questions last night. I was thinking about various topics, and honestly, I just didn't feel like it this morning. Still hungover from last night's Whiskey Time Live. Yeah, I am too. I've actually been, as usual, chasing rabbits down the rabbit hole. So I've been dealing with some things, and it just kind of absorbs me, and when it came time for topic. But what is a permanent alternative to YouTube? I don't know yet. I tried DLive. It works well, but there's issues with it. It doesn't retain, it holds the video for, I think, 48 hours, and then it just kind of vanishes. And it also doesn't transfer. You can't set it up to automatically transfer. Like with YouTube, I do the video, and it automatically will appear on every video I've ever done is on Odyssey. Is it .com? Odyssey.com, SEE, or LBRY. They're the same company. The original version was Library, and then it's now Odyssey. I'm not sure the difference. But they don't do a live stream yet. Otherwise, that would be a good way to go. Twitch works really well, but it's a gamer channel, and it's all clogged up with these endless, there's, some might be interesting, but there's only so much Roblox you can watch, and so it's actually kind of challenging to use that. And then there's one other. There's three others that I've actually used. I tried them out over the course of last few weeks. So Facebook, you can do it there, but forget that. You just go from one set of problems to a whole new set of problems. So I don't see any point in that. So I haven't figured out yet. YouTube, as much as I hate them, and as much as I despise all the censorship that goes on, and even on my channel it happens, which is crazy. Although last night I could see it. I got carried away last night. But my channel, it's there's nothing to censor, yet they do. And so I hate YouTube because of all of that. I hate that they steal money. They sell ads and keep all the money. It used to be they cut you in for 30% of it, and now they don't. So I hate all of that. They're just an abusive company. On the other hand, they have the absolute, by far, best software to do this, even with the glitches. It's got so many aspects to it, so many features to it, that when you operate on another channel, it's like you feel handicapped. There's just a lot of things you can no longer do. DLive is slow at times. The times I ran on it, it's worked fine, but could be. I found Library sometimes was that way. For Ecuador, people always talk about Cuenca and some other cities, but no one ever mentions Quito. Why is that? It's not exactly a treat. Like all places, it has some nice areas and it has some beautiful things to look at. But as a city, it's a bit of a, okay, I just can't help but say what's on my mind, and I'm sorry to those that I'm going to piss off, but it's kind of a crap hole. It's you can drive miles through shacks. It's just not all that pleasant. There's a fair amount of crime. Not crime necessarily like they're gonna, come and shoot you, although that happens. But how many cell phones do you want to buy in a lifetime? How many wallets do you have to hide? There's just a lot of things about Quito that just doesn't make it a very pleasant environment. Plus, it's a really big city, and that brings all big cities, seem to, well, except maybe Tokyo, they seem to have a lot of the problems that that I talk about. A lot of YouTubers are moving to Rokfin. Am I saying that right? Never heard of it. All right, where's my notebook? I know a lot have gone to Gab, but that's very problematic, and they're not. They want to upsell you on everything, and they don't really have a functioning live. If there were really good alternatives, I would be on them. I will check that out. I'm always looking. There's things popping up every day because there's definitely a market for it. It's just, it took YouTube, a decade and a half to get to where they are, and these people, they're trying to do it overnight. It just doesn't work well. I know a lot of people that don't like Quito, but I really like it there. It's interesting, worth spending time. I would say, I won't disagree with that. It's interesting, it's worth going to check out, but if you're talking about living there, unless you have to, it's probably not going to be a place that you want to live. Is meat in Colombia mostly regionally sourced? Do they do the mass-produced stuff? Well, all meat markets are mass produced. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now, if you're talking, there can be something wrong with it depending on how it's done. But, you just don't really find a guy raising one cow and he's going to butcher that cow and he's going to hand wrap it and carry it. And, that's not, he'd go bankrupt doing that. It's not very practical. But we don't have these mega ranches either, where it's like an endless assembly line. It's what we have is somewhere in between. The meat in Colombia, the best meat in Colombia is actually sourced from Angus beef from Texas. What they bring in here, when I was in the U.S., I would get Angus beef in the supermarket, and it's no big deal. It's just a name. But the Angus that I've had here that they source is really very good quality. It's pretty excellent. You're going to pay for it, but it's really worth it. You're paying U.S. price for it, sometimes less. You can also get Argentine beef. That's available in a lot of places. The Supermercado Rurales I'm always talking about, they have it. And that's pretty consistently good beef. Colombian beef, the only issue with that is it's either freaking amazing or it's horrible and it sucks. They don't have a grading system here, and so you really have to know your meat and be able to look at it and tell what it is that you're buying. You want to look for the marbling, and it's almost hit and miss depending on where you buy it. Now, the stuff that kind of sucks, it's dirt cheap, but it should be dirt cheap. It should be in the dirt somewhere buried. But the Colombian beef that's very high quality is amazing. And if you buy here what they call baby beef, it's a cut of meat. If you buy that, they almost always use good cuts of, or good, decent cows for that. Edificios Surrounds de Parque, do you ever check the monthly rate? Is a building where Cafe Waves restaurant is located. There's a couple coffee shops there, and I don't know if you look at that video that I just took, or one that I took about a year ago where I walked down through there. I actually focused a little bit more on the shops. There's a couple coffee shops. There's a liquor store. There's two restaurants. There's a bakery, which is also a restaurant. Lots of services. And it seems like if one of the services goes, like for COVID, I know a couple went out of business. There was a pork restaurant there that closed up, which surprised me because it was a very popular one. But it fills up right away because that building's pretty special. I don't know the prices of it. It's like all of them. It's not really it's not an apartment building. Those don't exist. They're all condos, and they're all owned by somebody. And if you get a rental, you're renting it from the person. You're not renting it from a building or some kind of building co-op. It's just not how it works here. So I don't know. It's like if I go into the guard, if something were open, he might be able to give me the answer. But more likely than not, because I've tried this in a few buildings before, and what happens is they can't really tell you. It's like, well, somebody paid 80 millones pesos for it, or something like it. I'm just making up a number. It's like that doesn't tell you what it would rent for per month. So I don't really know. My guess is it's probably the equivalent around $325, something like that. But the other cool thing, and I don't know how to express it. I wanted to go and take a video, but I don't live there. They have their own park, hence the name of the building. It's on the south end attached to the property. It's all fenced in. You can't get in there. If you have access if you live there. And you go in and it's got this, you can see through the fence. It's got these manicured sidewalks. It's got all these different kinds of tropical plants, and they have little placards on them telling them, this is a certain kind of bush and this certain kind of tree, and it's like that, and it's pretty good size. I've never seen anything like that for an apartment building, but it's kind of awesome. I would use it. I would grab my coffee and, go in and have a seat and, soak in the ambiance. YouTube censors anything that is even close to conservative values or fascist. Well, I won't disagree with that. Are there houses to rent that are secluded, private, but not in unsafe gringo areas? Need large outdoor space around me. If what I did when I lived in Provenza, my last apartment building, the apartment was too small, and after getting cooped up with a quarantine, I just couldn't take it anymore. But prior to that, I only used it to sleep. So when I got it, the fact that it was 2-bedroom, but 1-bedroom, I don't know if you could even fit a bed in it. It was a pretty small place, 2-bathroom, but everything was small. I didn't care because I was always out and around, so I was always out in large outdoor space. And, with all the parks and green spaces around here, there's no lack of it. So, I grew up in the country, and it's part of, I guess, where I don't care about large cities. I really just do not like them. The bigger they are, the more problems they bring. And I don't like being so isolated from nature. I love nature. I love water. And here, I'm living, if I step out on my balcony, I can look down to a river and all these trees and things. You guys have seen it. But everywhere, it's like that. It's like Armenia doesn't even feel like a city unless you get, in the heart of the south or something. But even in the north, if you're walking down Bolivar on these tree-lined, it feels like the only part of the city there exists is just that road and all these trees and the different parks that you're walking past. But are there houses to rent? Yeah, there's houses to rent. Secluded but private, not in unsafe gringo areas. Houses tend to be in more upscale areas. Here, the barrio, I actually did a video walking through that barrio, showing some houses, and it's the Castellania barrio. Not too far from here. Remember when Google's or if YouTube's slogan was "Don't be evil"? Yeah. Rock Finn. All right, I'm going to check it out. I met like Mega Ranch assembly line, like Walmart beef. No, the meat here it's not adulterated. Like one of the things that bothered me in Ecuador was that chickens, for example, they would dye their chickens because people seem to think if they were yellow, they were healthier. But sometimes they wouldn't get the dye right, and they'd almost be fluorescent. And so I would look for white chickens because they weren't dyed. It was a crazy thing. And they had no qualms about doctoring things for sale. Here it's like they don't seem to care about that, or maybe people don't want to buy things that are adulterated like that. So it's what you get is is what it should be. I don't really find issues with that at all. And I think it shows in that in the 3 years I've been here, I got food poisoning once, and it was my own fault. Where in Ecuador, I get food poisoning every couple months, and it had nothing to do with me. So, I've recently switched eating only Impossible meat. I've grown a third arm and gone blind in one eye. Good times. Well, you're in luck. Although the blindness may handicap you in locating it, but they have that stuff here. As a matter of fact, a lot of restaurants carry God knows what kind of hamburgers. Oh, speaking of hamburgers, I'd say it was a pet peeve, but it doesn't really peeve me. I more chuckle about it. But here, hamburgers are not hamburgers. Here, hamburger is anything in a bun. So if you go to a restaurant, don't be surprised if you ask for a hamburger and they say, "Do you want pollo, cerdo?" You know, it's you want egg. You know, it's like what are you talking about? I want a hamburger. Yeah, but do you want chicken? Do you want? I saw this one place. I have to tell people this all the time. I hardly ever eat hamburgers as much as I love them. My favorite food, a couple times a month maybe. But one day I was walking, I saw this sign, hamburger, and I thought, oh, I'll try this place out. So I go in and ask for a hamburger. All they had was pork or chicken. They didn't have beef hamburgers. So I said, figures. So I actually left. I was in the mood for a hamburger. But a lot of the restaurants here now carry, I don't know, whatever concoction or different concoctions of fake beef. If you like that stuff, you can get it here. Even there's the Impossible, and there's another that I've recently seen here, and there's another brand. I can't remember the brand, but it's like competing with Impossible. I've seen that here. I just don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. Soy boy protein isolate. What can 800 to 1,000 US dollars a month get you rent wise? Are you serious? How about a hacienda in the country with swimming pool and live-in maids and gardeners and that's I don't think I've even seen apartments or condos in Armenia at that price. Now Medellin, yes, but this is not Medellin. I think the highest I've seen here was maybe around $600, and that was a two-story penthouse and relatively new building with its own pool. You know, that's pretty spectacular. I was only kidding. I never even tried that meat. I'd try it, I guess. The thing that scares me a little bit, but you're hearing about a lot about it, is this meat glue, where you take different cuts and you actually glue them to, make one decent cut out. I don't know. I just kind of throw up in my throat a little bit thinking about that. It's just disgusting. Any great sushi in or around Armenia? When I get the urge, mine. I lived in Japan 3 years. I know what to do with the rice. I know to use the vinegar. I know to flip it in the air for about a half an hour. I know how to make sushi. Having said that, there's a number of sushi places here. There's no lack of it. None of them are what I would consider like really high quality. Most of them are actually very similar to this kind of sushi that I would buy when I was living in North Carolina. There's like the very best sushi restaurant. You go there, and if you've ever had real sushi made the correct way, which is very time consuming, then it's a bit of a letdown because there's a difference. Not just being a snob, you can tell the difference. And I like this taste, and this isn't quite there. And that's what I've found here. I've tried a few, but things that I know I'm going to be disappointed in, I just tend to avoid. So yes, and if you like most of the higher end sushi that you find in various places around the United States, then you're really going to love what's here. In a couple cases, I'd say it's even better than a lot that I've had in the U.S. But there's that. What more can I say about it? For a house with a pool, yes, that was my hope. Sushi, good question. Imagine sushi meat glue. Stop. I don't eat breakfast, so I don't have anything to throw up, but I broke my trend. I've got orange pineapple juice. Franken beef, yeah. Hey folks, let's not do to Colombia what expats did to Panama and Costa Rica. Pay local prices, or you a problem. Well, yeah, there's that. We're far from it here. It's already damaged Medellin. If you are going to come here, when people come here and they ask my assistance, in some ways I feel sorry for them because I don't pull any punches, and I'm very adamant about certain things because I don't want to see that kind of corruption. And names don't matter, and I've had so many people come through lately. Pick one. But I'm always explaining about the tipping. Okay, tipping in a nice restaurant where there's a certain ambiance and there's overhead. It's legal, and that now they will automatically apply 10% to the bill. They're not allowed to put any more than that. It doesn't go to the waiter. It goes to the owner of the restaurant, and they have to ask by law your permission. You can say yes or no. I always say yes because I'm in that kind of a restaurant, and that has become the thing now. 3 years ago, I talked differently. That's how fast things have changed here in Armenia. However, all the rest of the run-of-the-mill restaurants, or you walk in and you grab lunch and that kind of place, they're still not tipping. You need to follow what it is people do. There was a guy here not so long ago that went into a restaurant after me spending about 2 hours on this topic and some related things. And it was an 8,000 peso lunch. And he decides to give a 20, so the guy brings back the change, 12,000 pesos. He insists that the guy keep it, and the guy's saying, that's too much. Take it back. He was embarrassing the guy. He insisted. He made him take that money. The guy, of course, everybody likes to have money, but you have to understand that you're dealing with a culture and you're dealing with some deep-seated things here. And just money in general, it has a tinge to it. And, Armenia is kind of old-style Colombia. And what he really did was, he was flashing in the guy's face, look at me, I'm special. 20,000 pesos means nothing to me, but I'm going to throw it at you because obviously you need some help. I mean, how condescending and insulting is that? Everybody here isn't poor, and it's a disgusting thing. And I guess maybe because I'm so entrenched in it, I actually see it and feel it the way they do. But it's a horrible thing to do to somebody. You say, well, how's tipping a horrible thing? I'm telling you, it was stupid. It was ignorant. I mean, if he had just given, even if he wanted to tip, if he had done something, more commensurate to 8,000, maybe get 1,000 peso tip. I don't recommend it because it's not. I mean, what is your point in giving the tip? You got to ask yourself, why are you doing that? In his case, he was doing it to show off. He was doing it for exactly that reason. Because tips don't go to the people doing it. But even if you say, here, take this, keep it for yourself, and you put it in his pocket. Let's say he gets that tip for being a waiter. What about the cook? You see, in the U.S., you have a disparity between minimum wage and a waitress. She might make $4 an hour and minimum wage might be $8. But also, if she doesn't make up in tips to 8, and usually it's like more like 20 an hour if they're any good. But if she doesn't make up for it, the employer is legally liable to pay her the difference. That system doesn't exist here. So the waiter's making what the cook's making, which is what the busboys are making, which is what the cashier's making. They're all basically making that kind of money. So why are you tipping the waiter? Why aren't you tipping the cook who, burned his arm on the pan getting your dish out to you? What about him? Out of sight, out of mind? What about the guy who, is doing the dishes in the back or what? You see, it doesn't make sense. You're doing it for yourself, for your own ego. So, okay, get off the tangent. It just really bothers me when I see that. And I took the time to explain in far more detail than I just did now, and he still does it. And he's not making friends here. I can tell you that. Okay, where was I? Are there many foreign food restaurants in Colombia? Yeah. Especially in Manizales. Oh my God. The entire end of the city. It's beautiful restaurants, one after another, big places, gorgeous views, overlooking there's a sheer drop, and they're overlooking that to the mountains, the volcano. It's stunning. I love that place, that particular area, and you can get a Mediterranean, Arabian food. You can get Italian, you can get French, you can get Mexican, you can whatever you can think of. Pretty much, you can get German. It's there. There's a couple hundred restaurants in that area. Here, less so. I mean, small places you're not going to find. Like for the Chinese or the Japanese, it's a chain like Japanese is Sarku. It's good, but it's not really Japanese. It's tasty. Chinese is like glorified Colombian food. But then most people don't know Chinese. I've been to China. I've eaten Chinese food. And you can't even say for China because it's different all over the place. Think barbecue in the United States. Depends on where you are. But here, Chinese food is more like eating Colombian versions of it. Not to say it isn't good. It's real good. But soy sauce doesn't make for Chinese food. So, there's that. And in the U.S., you're actually hard-pressed to find good Chinese food there unless you're in New York and you go to Chinatown. I just need a large, quiet sanctuary. I'm a homebody. See, I'm living where I'm living, and I have that exact sanctuary. I hear no neighbors. I step out on my balcony. It's all nature. It's what you think you want. I would hold off till you get here and spend some time because you end up, I guarantee you're going to end up readjusting. I'm not saying you won't end up with that, but I'm saying that everybody readjusts because it's a different situation. And so what was desirable here may be less desirable and something else might be more desirable. And you find out when you get here. Do you have Edificio Provenza's security guard number? This is the building I'd like to live. I do, actually. Your best, they don't have places open very often. Your best bet is just go in and talk to them. But they won't know much about it. Like when I was moving, I wanted to see what is one of the big places open. And he said, well, there's one open, but it's similar to, it's a little bigger than mine, but it's still a 2-bedroom. And then I checked with the people and they wanted it outrageous. It was more than here. It was crazy. But he only knew who they were. He didn't know any of the details about it. And that's pretty typical. So they can tell you if a place is open if it's available. Cannot afford to live in Vancouver, Canada because of the Chinese wealth. I know what the local feel like being displaced. Yeah, it can be an issue. I would hate to see it here. Just can't live in a condo. 2 XL dogs and a red-headed wife. I don't know. You get a pretty big place. I have no red-headed wife, though. I'm used to living in small cabins with 0 neighbors. I don't recommend that anywhere in South America. Well, I'm sitting here in Armenia, and I have no fear of crime at all, ever. I use common sense, but I just don't have any fear of it because for me it doesn't exist. But I would not put myself anywhere isolated without neighbors because now you're setting yourself up for problems. And you certainly don't want to do that in Ecuador. People that do that end up in the newspaper dead at the hands of home invaders. It happens on a pretty regular basis. I'm living in 1,400 square foot right now. 1 bedroom, 2 bathroom. Big deal is privacy and quiet. I don't want my home sanctuary to be near others. You see, that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to talk you into here. I get what you're saying. But I don't recommend living out in the countryside unless it's a certain situation. I don't want to get into real depth on that. But you can... I'm sitting here in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, good size apartment or condo, and I never hear my neighbors. When the last guy who stayed here, he stayed here for 3 days in my room, and he says, I can't believe the only thing I could hear at night was the river, which is white noise. You hear nature, you hear birds, you hear the river, and you hear it all day long. I never hear neighbors, with one exception. They were remodeling an apartment, and a little bit in the day, not much, but you would sound like a jackhammer was going off. Didn't happen very much, but what's the chance of that won't happen again for years? So I don't know. It's perfectly quiet. I never would have thought I would be so happy in the situation I'm living in because I've always lived in the country, and I get what you're saying, but I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Best tip I ever received is don't fry the bacon with your shirt off. Yeah. Try again. Hello, welcome back. Nuance, thought it was a relic of the past. Okay, what do we got? We've gone about 45 minutes. Do we have any other questions that I can ramble on about? Did I miss anything? To have laundry done. Yeah, it's funny. The only thing I really consider to be overpriced here is that. Now, when you make friends, you'll find somebody's mother will do laundry pretty reasonable. But for me, Well, first of all, for a guy that owns 30 some of these black t-shirts, 5 pairs of Levi black denim jeans, it's pretty simple for me. You buy a washing machine. My washing machine costs me $70, and it's the new computerized with no thing that beats your clothes. It's, you know, it's just a tub, and it works awesome, cleans clothes really well. And then I throw them up on a clothes hanger, this rack. I bought it at Home Center, screws into the wall, and in 3 or 4 hours they're dry. Jeans, if it's a day with any kind of humidity, might be tomorrow it'll be dry. They dry real quick. And you fold them up, put them on the shelf. I go pull it off the shelf. There's no wrinkles in it because I folded it. It's so easy and dirt cheap to do it yourself. But you know, you can get somebody to do it. But that is, if you go to a place that does it, you could have a little bag for laundry and end up paying like $10 for it. You know, it's I don't know why it's so expensive. But like I said, you make friends. You can, you know, you say, hey, you know, is your grandma or your ma or whatever, you know anybody who you know, can do my clothes for me, and then you can get pretty good prices. Where are the women at, playa? Well, I got 4 or 5 in my bedroom waiting for me to finish up. How's that? Lauren, I'm looking at retiring from the military soon. I also plan to have a web-based business. Perfect. What type of visa would you recommend? Retirement, real estate? I assume, well, retirement is the best. And if you're retiring from the military, it doesn't matter. You could be 40 years old and still have a retirement visa here, as long as you have the document stating that. It doesn't have to be Social Security. Real estate, it can be very expensive and problematic because it's difficult to resell. You almost always pay too much and then you can't get out from under it. But there's another visa that doesn't seem to come up much, but it's called a rentista visa. And with that visa, all you have to do is show that you make an income of, I think it's around $2,100 a month. And so if you show that, you can get a rentista visa. It's a pretty easy visa to get. But a lot of people, you know, they're either retiring or, you know, whatever. So that's definitely something you could do. Web-based business is awesome because if you keep all the financial aspects of that out of Colombia, you can stay out of the tax system. You know, keep well, what I'm doing right here, and I've explained why. You know, it's my money gets taxed in the U.S. I don't want to, you know, pay a tax here. And the thing in the U.S. is, if I don't reach a certain level, I don't even have to pay tax. But here, it's from once you hit the bracket to pay taxes, then you know you're getting taxed on everything. So in the U.S., if I were to pay tax and I itemize out, let's say this month I received $400, which is close to what I'm getting through this every month, which would be pretty awesome, except almost $400 goes back out in various expenses, various subscriptions, things like that. So in the U.S., I can do that as deductions, and if there were any tax liability, it would only be on the $50, whatever left over. Here in Colombia, in a similar situation, they would tax the whole $400 with no regard to what the expenses are for that. There's a lot of nuances to it. I don't want to pretend to be a tax genius. I avoid all this generally, but you know, it can be an issue. So if you got a web-based business, if you can keep finance, keep a U.S. bank or wherever you're from, you know, keep it there and then just withdraw it here out of an ATM card or something. You just avoid all the potential complications. Their warehouse rentals reasonably priced for jam space where noise isn't an issue. Well, a lot of places, noise is just going to happen anyway. But yeah, you could definitely do that. You'll have to look, find something that's suitable for you. But of course, yeah. Know anything about requirements for 1-year visa, i.e. bank statement savings? Well, the 1 year, it doesn't really work that way. For example, until COVID, if you got a retirement visa, it was automatically 3 years. But then during COVID, they brought up what was already in the law, but they were never enforcing it, the medical thing. So now you have to have medical coverage. So if you present the medical coverage, then you're going to get 1 year unless that medical coverage shows that it will go 2 years or 3 years or whatever. You'll get the coverage for whatever. So if it's for 3 months, you'll still get a year, but you won't get 2 years or 3 years. So it's not like you're getting a visa based on the time, but they determine the time based on your information for the visa. If you want details, they're pretty accurate, and he keeps them pretty up to date. Go to medellinguru.com and look up visas, and you can find a lot of good information there. Have you ever thought about living in Salento? Absolutely not. I love the place. Great little tourist town. I like having access to things that I like. And Salento, it's a great little town, but I would be coming to Armenia to get things. What's the point? I'd rather go to Salento to visit. Reason I ask is I'm visiting for a month and some condos don't have washers. You can, like I said, you can buy a washer for, mine was like $75, and it's not some piece of crap. It's decent. That'll get you a nice washer. Or they actually have a guy that will rent you for a couple days. They will carry the washer, hook it up for you. You come back 2 or 3 days later, whatever you establish, all for the same price. And he'll disconnect it and carry it back out. And he'll do that every week. And it's like 10, 12,000 pesos. It's crazy. But that's a regular service here in Armenia. I did it a couple times before I got mine. It was crazy cheap. It's like I wouldn't, and they hand carry these things. It's like, how are you making money at that? But all I heard for years about Colombia is the bad stuff about kidnappings, violence, and such. From what it sounds like, seems like it's the big cities where it happens, but it could be wrong. Well, you heard about that for years because Colombia used to be like that. And when I lived here 20 years ago, it was like that. And that's why, this came up last night, why I moved to Ecuador, why I moved here. It was after I was sick and after I was in bed for 2.5 years. And if you know anybody, if you've ever been in that situation, you know that you lose all your body muscle. You become gelatin. Like that cartoon movie Wall-E, where, in the end of the movie, it's like all the earthlings living in space got fat and they had to go around on these electric carts because they couldn't walk anymore. That's what I was like. I literally couldn't walk a half a block without collapsing. I'm not exaggerating. When I first got to Cuenca, that was it. And you're constantly pulling things. I can't say you're pulling muscles because you don't have any. But it's problematic. So I didn't come to Colombia because it's where I wanted to come. But I'm thinking, well, when I was there, I didn't realize how much it had changed. And so I'm thinking, I can't survive if I go. I can't defend myself. I can't get out of my own way. I mean, I put on 100 pounds. It was, I was fit and strong and normal sized and muscular, knew how to take care of myself. I had martial arts training for 3 years and whatever you get in the Marine Corps and bar fights and things. I wasn't afraid of that kind of thing. I was confident in taking care of myself. I was more of a mind, they need to be afraid of me. And it was kind of like that when I was here. People, kind of steered clear of me to a certain extent. So I'm thinking, if I come back here, I can't take care of myself. So I go to Ecuador, and then I decide I got to go visit. I just missed the place. I moved to Ecuador to be close to it. So I come over here, and I quickly realized how much it had changed. It's nothing like it was 20 years ago. The economy was so much better. Unemployment wasn't far off from what you typically see in the United States. It was, pre-COVID. It was pretty awesome. And, so I made another 7 trips over here and ended up moving here. This is where I always wanted to be. In those days, if you took a bus from city to city, there was a good chance that FARC or one of the guerrilla groups would pull you off the bus and hold you for ransom. The reason you think about that is all the movies that were made about it. And so a lot of people see Colombia through the eyes of Pablo and the violence and the bombings and all of that stuff that was real, took place, and hundreds of thousands of people lost their lives over it. And it actually had gone on from World War II, La Violencia. So, what you're saying isn't wrong historically. It's just not like that anymore. Now, big cities, it has nothing to do with Colombia. Tell me how safe you'd feel going into, 3/4 of the places in Chicago or Detroit or Baltimore or New York City these days, or, pick a city. There's areas of every city, the nicest cities, that are dangerous, and you don't want to go there. So that's no different than here. That exists here also. Crime in Medellin has been spiking, but here it's still what it's. I'm not kidding when I tell you it's a non-issue for me. Nice. I look into retirement or rentista visa. I definitely plan to keep taxes in the U.S. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Also, would like to meet up with you towards the end of the year. I'll be here. Avoid Airbnb for monthly temporary lodging during visiting exploring towns. I don't know. It depends. Yes, no. If you don't know the lay of the land, it can be good, but you can also get burned. People tend to lie about their Airbnbs. So I got a love-hate thing going on. I've traveled a lot around here. I've used Airbnb. I prefer actually using Booking and getting a hotel. I prefer that. I find them much more reliable and honestly representative. Plus, I get amazing discounts because I've traveled so much. I get like 30% off. But I don't have to put deposits down, and I can have check-in 24 hours a day. I get all these benefits, but Airbnb, I mean, it's a viable option. What I've been suggesting, people that, have wanted to basically hire me for a day or 2 or 3, I don't do more than 3 days, but to get acclimated, help them get set up, maybe take them to the visa office, things like that. But on their first day here, because nobody can stay in my apartment more than 3 days. They can't stand me and I can't stand people. But on the first day, we look for a place for them to rent for, 2 to 4 weeks while they process everything and they can get a place. Now, the last guy that went through this, he was in a hurry, and I managed to get him before he even got his ID, before he even got his visa. I got him a year lease at an apartment in a great place, great price, no big deposits, no co-signers. So I was very proud of that. I wasn't sure I could pull it off, but you get connections after you've been here for a while. What would you recommend instead? Now, here in Armenia, if you're just looking for a place to crash, renting a bedroom locally, not through Airbnb, but if you look in Facebook Marketplace is awesome here for everything you can think of. And if you go in there and look for furnished rooms, and you can put it in English too, you don't have to put mobles, habitation or whatever, but you can put it in English, and it'll come up with, like here in the north, last time I did it, I came up with 5 bedrooms ranging from 250,000 to 350,000 pesos a month for a bedroom, use of the kitchen, use of the living room. It's a cheap way to go for a month. But they rent month by month, but they don't really, you never really see them rent for like 5 days or something. So, but hey, price is great. So, there's other alternatives once you know your way around here. Okay, for it to be more pricey through the eyes of Hollywood, there's areas in Houston. Yeah, all cities are like that. So it's one of those things. If you live here, and one of the first questions out of people's mouths, actually in Ecuador, it was no different. Is it safe? Is there any crime? Of course there's crime. Tell me where there's not crime. Okay, maybe Iceland. I don't know. Even there's crime. Where human beings exist, there will always be crime. It's a matter of degrees and location and like that. And here, if you live in Armenia and you're not out at 4 o'clock in the morning with questionable people doing questionable things, you're okay. It's difficult traveling with a German Shepherd. Yeah, I had a German Shepherd. I actually had 2. One died in a matter of months, was a street dog, but the other one I had from when it was a youngin'. And when I came here, I knew that I couldn't bring her. It was kind of heartbreaking, but on the other hand, she's living on a farm with rabbits running free and streams running through and cows to bark at and very nice people who actually, they want the dog as a farm dog, a working dog, but they're actually affectionate to their animals. Even their cows. It's like one day I was there and it's like I see them, scratching behind the ears and talking. It's a cow, but I guess maybe they give better milk that way. I don't know. New York is getting to be as bad as the 80s. Yeah, I see that. It's a shame. People, me saying people are bad. It's, I'm fully aware that I'm an acquired taste. I'm difficult to deal with. So it's as much for other people as for me. But I get real antsy. I won't say it's anxiety, but I get real antsy if I can't escape from people. And so if they're here and they're here for a week or something, I would climb the walls. I can deal with 3 days. I get to the 3rd day and that feeling comes. It doesn't matter. They can be the nicest person on earth. And, it's me. It's not you. It's me, Next time when addressing me, please use my proper pronoun. Taco. Yeah, bite it. The taco, I mean. What's your Spanish fluency? It's pretty sad. Last night I described it as being a 3-year-old. Pretty right. I've got a pretty good sized vocabulary. It's, I've got words in the hundreds. And the average person here, so I was told by a language person, they don't use 400 words in the vocabulary. It's like only a couple hundred. I actually have a pretty good vocabulary. It's stringing them together that's the issue. And it's not the only issue, but it's when somebody's talking, I'm still in the translation mode. I've got this barrier with Spanish. I don't know. Again, on Coffee Time, I talked. I've been around Spanish for years. Had a Spanish wife for 8 years, or a Colombian wife for 8 years. I should know these things. 3 years in Ecuador, 3 years here, and I'm still an idiot with Spanish. And when somebody's talking, it's like I'm translating, but they talk faster than my brain will function. And so then I missed a big chunk of it, and it's like, where am I? I get lost. And can you slow down? I do a lot of, can you repeat? And then it's like, okay, I understand. But I mostly need to, I guess I'm just slow. Espanol is difficult with the verbs and it's like I don't have a handle on that stuff. Everything, every version of walking to me is caminar. It's two walked, you walked. It doesn't matter. It's all caminar. I mean, it's just. But the thing is, people understand me, and so I can accomplish whatever I need. Got to jump, errands, oil change on the truck. Sure, make your excuses. I get it. I'm using Duolingo to learn it. Duolingo is very good. I tried that. I tried Rosetta Stone. Yeah, I went for the big bucks. Back in the day, I dropped a couple $100 on. Had all these CDs. Taquito. It doesn't work for me. Classroom worked for me with Japanese. It doesn't work for me with Spanish. I actually had a trauma, okay, and directly related to the Spanish language, and for some reason it's entrenched itself in this barrier to learning. And I'm not going to tell you about it, but I thought it was a joke at first, but I've come to realize I definitely have a barrier. I should be far more fluent now than I am, but it's good enough, and I've gotten to the point I don't care as long as I can get what I need from people, and I can carry on rudimentary conversations without pulling my phone out. Then I'm good to go. But I will say that my first breakthrough where I actually felt I made progress was when I was in Cuenca. Well, I was living in Giron, but I went to Cuenca for a language exchange, and that worked. That actually was effective. I stopped doing it because my life is a language exchange, but I highly recommend those. Or get a tutor, like Lena is tutoring people over, Skype. That works pretty good if they're an actual teacher. My Spanish is getting better. Yeah, I would expect it too. Ex-wife trauma, it was kind of related to her family, but you would think my Spanish would get better. And it does. It does get better. It's just unbelievably subhuman slow. And I'm not that stupid. I'm actually a pretty intelligent guy. But when it comes to Spanish, I've been studying Spanish seriously for 7 years, and between intermediate and advanced. Any advice? Oh, your advice. 10 years for most people, and plan on being a student till the day of your life. Well, I'm way past the 10 years. And I've done classes, and I've done, I'm telling you, I'm a rockhead when it comes to the HD chillin'. Awesome. I can definitely relate when it comes to Espanol. I appreciate the contribution, and I think you were kind of running late last night. You got us at the tail end. Glad you're here today. from when I visited you in Cuenca and now, it's better for sure. You understand a lot. Well, yeah, absolutely. And you know, that's been 4 years, I think. Maybe more than 4 years. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, you would think so. But I was handicapped somewhat in Cuenca because I was around all of these Cuencanas that wanted to practice their English. And if in Ecuador, if you're bilingual, it's almost guaranteed you're going to make more or considerably more money in your pay. And it's like, how can I not do that? How can I not help them out? You know, so it becomes kind of like a crutch, but that's where it happened. It's like, you know, in and around the house, we're just always doing English, particularly Sandy, but Adriana also, she would practice. Sometimes we'd actually sit down and we would go over different words and phrases. Sandy had more of an English. We could actually have somewhat of a conversation. Her English got a lot better pretty quick. So, you know, I was around, and other people that I knew, you know, they just wanted to practice. I will say that everybody I knew, their English got way better. My Spanish never changed until I got to Colombia, where I didn't really have those options. You don't have anywhere near as many people in this neck of the woods that speak English, although I'm finding more and more. Yeah, that's the way it is. All right. We've gone, I don't know, looks like over an hour. So we're going to call it a day. Thank you guys for tuning. Look, I just see the viewer. Click off, click off, click off. Geez, at least let me do the outro. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I'll keep working on the notification thing. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and click the thing to get notified. At least you'll know that way. Doing my best to do it. I'm getting like a third of the normal viewers. It's not doing me any favors. But hang in there. Like everything else, we'll get it sorted out. Mama never said life was going to be easy. Ciao.